So you want to shoot in manual mode, well, you've come to the right place. This is Mark Lancaster Photography, and I'm going to show you how to shoot in manual mode and also why we should be shooting in manual mode. So let's get started. Okay, so why should we be shooting in manual mode? We've all got cameras which do a perfectly good job. You just press the button in auto mode and it churns out images pretty much exposed pretty well most of the time. So is it really worth learning something new, which won't take long by the way, but is it worth learning something new to shoot in manual mode? Well, yes it is. It is really worth it. If you want to bring up your photography to the next level, you have to shoot in manual mode. If you think of something like a portrait where you see the model or the sitter and their face is perfectly in focus, and behind you've got all the blurry bokeh behind them which looks fantastic, it really isolates the subject. You really need to be shooting in manual mode for that. You will not get that in auto mode. And also, if you want to take, maybe you'll see a photo of a waterfall and you see a beautiful silky white waterfalls coming down, it just looks like silk. You have to shoot in manual for that, so you have control over the shutter speed. And with the portrait you need control over the aperture, the depth of field. So it gives you total control by shooting in manual. Also, if you maybe have an athlete running and you want to capture the speed going past, you can do that with the shutter speed, so you get that blurry image of the background that you really need in manual mode. And also maybe a racing car or something like that, if you're into sports photography, in auto mode you just will not get that when the car's crystal clear in focus and in the background's totally blurred, giving that sense of speed. So we're going to learn how to shoot in manual mode. It won't take long, and you'll be on your way to bring your photography up to that next level. Okay, just before we dive straight into the manual mode, I'd just like to briefly touch on two other modes that you have on your camera in case you're wondering what they're there for. And that is shutter priority and aperture priority. Basically, they sit in between manual mode and auto mode. They're sort of in the middle. So with shutter priority, all you do is you set the shutter speed and the camera will adjust the aperture so you get the correct exposure. And likewise, in aperture mode, you set your desired aperture and the camera will adjust the shutter speed so you get the correct exposure. Okay, you can still use these modes for, say, like getting the silky waterfalls, that type of thing. You can still do that, and also if you want a blurry background and change the depth of field, you can do all of those things. The only problem is that the camera does the rest, so you've got no control over all the other stuff, and that can be a problem. Let's say, for example, you're taking photos of a horse race and you decide to put the camera in shutter priority mode, and you set a nice fast shutter speed so you can capture those horses nice and sharp and they're moving fast. You've got a fast shutter speed, not a problem, and that will work. The problem is have you chosen how many horses you want in focus, whether you just want the winning horse in focus and the rest are blurred, or do you want the background blurred and maybe or the first three in focus? The problem is the camera's choosing the depth of field for you, so it's adjusting the aperture for you, and that way you've got no control over that depth of field. So you really don't know whether one horse is going to be in focus, 3 of them, or 10 of them, or what. You've just got no idea what's going on with that, and that is why we really need to shoot in manual mode. Okay, time to go over to manual mode. So if you switch your camera from auto straight over to manual, and we're on our way. So what we really need to do is we need to have a look at the light meter in the camera, and it should look something like this one along here. It should be the row at the bottom, and you've got the little digits in between and an indicator going up and down on the bottom. Now you need to get that indicator right in the middle, and that means it's correctly exposed. That's pretty simple. And if it's to the right too much, it means it's overexposed. If it's to the left, it means it's underexposed. So all you need to do is just keep it in the middle. So that's one of the first things, one of the most important things. Check the light meter, always get that indicator in the middle. Right, so how are we going to get the correct exposure every single time when we're shooting in manual mode? Well, all we need to do is we need to learn about 3 things. That's ISO, shutter speed and the aperture. So the ISO, all that is your camera's sensor's sensitivity. So the higher the number the ISO, the more sensitive your camera's sensor is to light. And if you go too high with the ISO, you start to introduce something called noise, which is like a grainy, unwanted thing you really don't want. So basically, for that reason, I would put the ISO on 100 and leave it there and don't change it unless you really have to. So that's that taken care of. ISO we don't have to worry about anymore. All we need to be concerned about now is the shutter speed and the aperture. And we don't have to worry about them because it's whatever we want to choose them to be. So if you're going to take a photo of the waterfall, making it all silky, for instance, you might want a shutter speed of maybe 1 second, half a second or 2 seconds, somewhere around there. So all you do is you'll set your shutter speed on that, maybe half a second, you'll try it out. You try a few shots out, but say you're going to try half a second first of all. You set your shutter speed on half a second, point it at the waterfall, and then when you press your shutter down halfway, you see the light meter come up like I showed you before along there, and all you do is you change your aperture until the light meter goes into the middle, and that's it, you're done. Take your photo, and if you adjust it again to a different shutter speed, say you want a longer shutter speed, then just press the shutter halfway down so your light meter comes up again, and then just change your aperture so it stays in the middle each time. And likewise with your aperture, if you're looking to do the portrait, for example, where you've got a blurry background and the subject is really sharp in focus and the rest is really blurry, all you need to do is you choose your aperture, which would be a very wide aperture, and then you'll adjust your shutter speed to make that needle go in the middle, and it's really as simple as that. And with, say, a landscape photo, you really want a small aperture because then everything's in focus, so you'll get to know about that, and that's another course anyway. That's another video really, so I might do that on my next video. So really it's really simple. ISO you keep to 100, the shutter speed or the aperture, whichever one you think is more important for your shot, you choose that and you just adjust the other one until it goes right in the middle of that light meter, and you're done basically. Well, this is my first ever tutorial video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please do the thumbs up and subscribe and click that bell for notifications, because I am going to make some more videos, and especially if I get some likes and subscriptions, I'll make a lot more videos. If there's something you'd like me to make a video on regarding photography, just let me know. I'm Mark at marklancasterphotography.com. You can also check out my website, which is marklancasterphotography.com. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks guys.